Meeting of the Parks Commission to order, and begin by asking if we have any members of the public who wish to communicate with the commission. I don't see anyone in the audience here today, so we will assume that no one wishes to do that. The minutes of the last meeting of the commission, June 13th, 2022, are attached. If you take a moment and take a look at those, I'll entertain a motion to either accept them or to make any changes, additions, or corrections that are needed to those minutes.
I'll do a motion to accept. I already read over them.
Okay. There's a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, those minutes are accepted. We'll move on into other business at this point. The first item under item D1 is a discussion about attendance policy and future appointments. The last page of your packet is a list of commission meetings and absences from those meetings. We have a bylaw provision. It's section 2.5 that says a member who misses 3 consecutive meetings or 1/3 of all regular meetings in a 12-month period, except in case of illness, shall be removed from the commission. So that's what our bylaws say. I think that we have the ability to, I think for our agenda purposes today, we can discuss that. And take appropriate action on that, which I think could include whatever the commission would like to do in terms of that. If we want to consider tabling it and changing our bylaws, we could do something like that. We can go ahead and take that action and have those people stand for reappointment, if that's what the council would do. I know in Jesse's case in particular, you've had school and stuff that's been different, but I understand your schedule may have changed some, which might alleviate some of the issues that you had before. And so if that's the case, I would really like to see if there's a way to preserve your ability to continue on the board. But I think it's a board decision that we have to make together. And I don't know that we're absolutely constrained to a particular course of action, except that that's what our bylaws do say right now. So we'd have to either amend the bylaws, adopt some sort of a waiver, or go ahead and have those removed, those members removed.
So who's on the chopping block?
Well, if you look at the spreadsheet that's attached, there's the 12 months of meetings and the number of absences from each of the members during that 12 months. And so if you miss 1/3 of all regular meetings,
It'd be 4 meetings,
which
right?
would be 4 meetings, there are 3 commissioners who've missed 4 or more meetings. And so one, that would be Justin, Gale, and Jesse. And so, to comply with the bylaws as written now, we would basically say that those 3 commissioners would be removed and have to either be reappointed or, would have to be reappointed or not reappointed, someone, whatever happened. Alternatively, the issue is we could table this and consider an amendment to the bylaws if that's what we wanted to do. Or we could, I think that's probably the issues. I don't know that we can, to amend the bylaws, I don't know if I have the requirements for amendment. Hang on one second.
It's on the last page.
Yeah,
Article
I see it.
6.
Add on there.
I know
We
this
have to have
is-
a week notice before, a week notice of the bylaw change before the meeting. So, and then we have to have council approval of the amendment. So I think those are our options probably. Either let's table it and entertain a motion to amend it in some way, or let's or we go ahead and act on it today if we want to, And then the third way, I suppose, would be, if we have the power to amend subject to city council saying it's okay. So we have the power to amend a bylaw, to waive a bylaw provision. I just don't know the answer to that without also requiring council to approve. And I don't know that anybody, I don't know that that's a question we really need to mess with, because we have the ability to just table it if the sense of the commission is we'd like to change that in some way. So let's just have a discussion about thoughts on a possible change and what that change might look like if we did do that, or on the thought that, look, the bylaws say what they say, they mean what they mean, and we need to do what we need to do. And however the commission feels about that, I think is what we ought to do. So I'll just open the floor to.
I did just notice something for the sake of it. It says September 2022, and I was like, wait, how did we get to September 2022? I think that's supposed to say September 2021 on there. But I think that the way that the bylaws stand, if you can't make a third of the meetings, and I understand, like Jesse, with you had something with school that came up, and now that's gone. But I don't necessarily think that we should change that, because I think that having a quorum at all the meetings is important, and having an engaged board is important. I think that, speaking as somebody that's missed 3 meetings, I'm right on the edge there too. I think that you should be able to make 9 of the 12 meetings in a year. That's just my 2 cents in order to have a well-functioning board. Now, circumstances with, sickness and illness and all those kind of things, that stuff happens. I've got little kids get sick, and mom can't handle, me being gone all day and then being gone 2 hours at night. So I've had to miss some meetings because of that. So I don't know that it needs to be amended, but I know that with other boards, it's hard to, when do you start enforcing it? Because it becomes an issue. You want to give people a chance, now that they've been put on notice, I guess.
Well, and again, if you amend it, do you change the fraction? How do you do that? So anyway, any other thoughts from?
Yeah, so I thought I heard you say that per the bylaws, if it's missed more than a third or 3 in a row, then they're asked to resign their position, but then there's opportunity for them to be reappointed.
I think that's right. I don't think there'd be any reason that we couldn't do that.
Okay, because the reason I'm asking, because if, in the case where we let the bylaws stand and we have people be reappointed, then we and the Parks and Rec Department get to ask, look, what happened in the last year? Then maybe there's a reason to reappoint someone. In Jesse's case,
Yeah. Schedule change, right?
It was a schedule change. So is that going to be a problem in 23 going forward? If the answer is yes, then it's like, hey, sorry, you need to step down. But if not, like, hey, come back. But so the bylaw sounds like a good rule of thumb, for lack of a better word, and that if a person chooses to desire on there, then they need to make their case of how it's going to change. It's all voluntary, and we all got to put it first. Right. So that's.
I think too. It should also depend on how many times Parks and Rec switches it up. So I'm planning for this Monday every month, and probably 3 of those absences are times where they reschedule to it another day, or they're like, we might have it at this other spot, which one was the tour or something like that, So, when do you start putting some pressure to the parks to keep it consistent on their times, cancellation, scheduling, and things like that?
Yeah, that's
a really
a
good point.
reasonable point, yeah.
Very good point.
I agree with that. There was lots of changes.
Maybe, and 2 emails not coming through and things like that. Those should be taken into consideration when they're putting these numbers up. I don't know if they did that.
Yeah, and it says 3 in a row. I don't think I've missed 3 in a row. I may have missed 4 altogether, but not 3 in a row.
Right.
Right.
Well, but the bylaw provision is either or, is that 3
it's an
consecutive
or.
meetings or a third of all regular meetings in a 12-month period. So it is either 3 together or 4 total.
And I think what Lori says stands true is if there's extenuating circumstances, the meeting gets moved, whatever happens, it doesn't mean like, hey, you're banned forever. It's, hey, the default is you're gonna fall off of the committee, and then if there's, there's gonna be an open position, if you wanna come back, you can come back and say, hey, I missed two because they changed the meeting times, and, I got sick, it was just a perfect storm of everything, but I plan on being there going forward, and, then you're back on the board. It's more of the people that, and I'm not saying that there is anybody like this, I'm just, again, from other experience, having dealt with this before, it's, people get on the board, then things change and it's no longer a priority and they just stop showing up, but they're still on the roster and there has to be some movement. They're not gonna resign willingly because it's just, that's, you're not gonna be hassled to deal with that. It's gonna just have to take the board saying, hey, you're off. If you wanna come back and tell us why.
And there is an exception in the case of illness, so it would just be something that needs to be communicated with Parks and Recreation. And then there's also, the option to amend, with the exception of if a meeting gets rescheduled, not to have that, count against attendance or something.
Which one of these dates were reschedules?
So you could, I don't know that we have a record of that.
March, we
but
had a workshop on a Saturday.
Everybody was there for that.
Which everyone was at. I don't think this fiscal
Valentine's Day
year,
was a reschedule.
October,
October was a reschedule,
I think.
And Valentine's Day was a reschedule,
was that?
because it was Valentine's Day,
No,
February.
And who's, too, and I like that thing, and things that should be taken into consideration, in my opinion, too, is the work being done, which Jason knows about, people who are going out in the community on their personal time, meeting with people, giving that feedback, visiting places, fields, bringing community members together. I know Gail does quite a
And
bit.
could have more involvement than just sitting here,
And then just
coming
being
for a
voice.
vote.
Yeah, because there's also people that can show up and give an opinion and all that, but it's not worth their time throughout the month to do the groundwork to gain the insight to really represent the community. But then you also got to be here, like I said. But for example, Gail does how many things up there, but how much has she done too for Victoria Parks? That's just an example.
My only question, Justin, is how do we put that into a policy when we have a black and white policy that says, says what it says?
Could
In
we
other words,
come forward with this?
How would you propose to amend the bylaws to take that into account? That's kind of that's a hard thing to specify.
Like who's really showing up and giving an opinion, and who's really out there putting the work in.
How do we put that into an objective?
If you can't do it, then you can't do it.
Well, I mean, I think it's a reasonable point, but I'm just, we've got to either revise the bylaws or live with them. And if there's a proposed revision
No revision. Go ahead and.
to the bylaws, we could think about
You gotta
that.
do this. Whatever you gotta do with the laws you got, you should move forward with that, because like you said, it's black and white.
Maybe we could have come forward with this sooner with these tallies too. That would have been helpful.
So they're really,
Well, we don't have to take any action tonight. I mean, that's another option.
Well, if you're gonna do
Right.
something,
yeah, that's what I'm saying too.
Jesse.
Like, you might as well do it so people's opinions aren't gonna change.
Well, Jesse, you had,
Well, I was listening to, I think everybody brings up a very good point. And I think what we need also is, our specialties that we have, the promotions that a lot of individuals are doing now freely in the community and promoting the Parks and Rec, because it does take a team, not just one entity doing it. And then with the entity, if we have these meetings, I think maybe there should be a little bit more ample time so that we can start making these arrangements. Like in my case now, having classes on Monday, instead of getting on a Friday notice or something like that, then that gives me time to make arrangements with my class saying, hey, I'll be about 30 minutes late. And they'll work with me on that where I can be at these meetings. So that gives me time to drive home, get on the Zoom and everything else.
I've been requesting,
And I think the bylaws should pretty much stand as they are, but then also I think we need leadway to make arrangements so we can be here also on these days.
so what if we did, I mean, and just shooting from the hip, but I mean, what if we were to say that if we were to enforce the bylaws, what if we were to also in our motion, that has to go to council to be approved, include a recommendation for reappointment of those members, based on the things you're talking about, on the fact that, this group is working well, and doing things involved in the community and engaged in the planning and the other work that this commission's engaged in, and been in attendance at the workshops and all that stuff, so that we just put it all in a package that says, our bylaws say this, so we're taking this action, but we're doing it with the request of the council to reappoint those members for another term.
If there's somebody that's gonna, come and be here and wanna, give it their all, that's fine with me. I'll probably still.
I can't think,
Still be out there doing whatever.
I'd like to retain, my personal view is I'd really want to keep you guys involved on this. I do. I don't, I think all that's true. And like I said, I think in Jesse's case, I know that your schedule's changed and.
But sir, and the thing, I look at it too, I think all of us bring a good specialty into this advisory committee here. And on my case here, I'd be more than willing to help out, even writing grants, put input on grants, researching, so that way we're able to show our expertise that we're able to put back into the advisory committee as well, or the Parks and Rec.
I have a suggestion. If we've got members here on this council that are kind of getting kicked off of this council, bad word, but it is what it is, and you want to write grants, sir, and you want to be active, there's a spinoff organization called the Victoria Parks Coalition that Lee created just for people that want to be, doing good in the community. And actually, you've got more power, perhaps, with the Victoria Parks Coalition, because you can actually go out and fundraise and actually you can take projects by the head and see them all the way to the end. And Jason's an advisor on the commission, so maybe that could be an exit plan for commissioners. My time's gonna be up in February anyway, and, but that could be an option too, to join the Victoria Parks
Yeah, I said
Coalition.
if you
And
got
Lee
somebody-
and Mr. Rivera are gonna go off in February as well, too. I believe we were extended time, and that will be the end of our commission.
Well, yeah, and I think Laurie and
Service.
Stephen are both up for reappointment now too anyway. So the council's going to be acting on reappointment. So that's it's an option to consider something like that.
That's, if you got the rules and you gotta follow them. And, me, I'm fine if someone wants to come and put their foot forward and show up to the meetings, because you have to, show up. And like I said, that ain't gonna change what I do anyway, so.
Here's my opinion. I'm against changing the bylaws, because now what we're trying to do is fix it to where it's gonna convenience us. We know that the meetings are on Monday. If you do active things, like, I do active things, but I don't use Monday as one of my days to be active, because if I have the responsibility to be here, I'm gonna try my best to be here, because I got games on Monday, on Tuesday, and I cancel my games just to be here. And that's a paying job. So, I make arrangements, and I don't say, well, don't have it on Monday because I work on Monday. We don't need to be, we volunteer, we are part of this commission, and we know that the meetings are set on Monday, and we get a notification, and when I didn't get a notification, I got with Jessica, there was some glitch there in the email. I would not get an email, but I knew it was on Monday, so I would just say, we have a meeting this weekend. Yeah, I'll send you an email, and I never got it. But I knew that was on Monday, so I would call Jessica, and she would give me the information. Yes, and we worked at it. Now I'm getting the emails. I think the bylaws, every organization, I'm sure that most of you will belong to organizations, have their bylaws, and all the bylaws also state, if you're absent so many times, then, we ask you to either resign or, step down. The bylaw says if you, so many absences, and excuse if you are sick. And I testify of one of my absences, I was in the hospital. So unless they roll me in here in the bed, I would have been here. And I was hoping to be here, but one day turned out to be 5 days in the hospital. But I think that but no need to change the bylaws. We know our responsibilities is every Monday, and sure, we're gonna cancel the meetings. We canceled the meeting we canceled because we didn't have a quorum, okay? And then there's gonna be some changes, because I know that Jason, sometimes they get tied up, they gotta go to a meeting out of town, and, that happens. And, so we need to be flexible in changing, and also, okay, so we're having the meeting this day, let me work out, see if I can be there. If not, always pick up the phone and say, well, I won't be there because I gotta work, or I'm sick, or something came up. I mean, there's always emergencies. We
We're
cannot.
gonna have to check with Jason on how many
Yeah.
times where I was sick
Yeah.
or that I
I know,
called him.
I know.
I don't know, so should it be 6 or 7? Because if none of those are taken off,
Yeah.
well, then clearly when you give somebody notice, they're not gonna take it off, anyway.
No,
is
they're
what
not
I'm
gonna
saying.
take it off,
'Cause there was
yeah.
times where I communicated and it still says the
Yeah,
same number.
right.
That's all
I
I
know,
was saying.
I know.
So,
Lee,
but I'm fine, like you said, we have the laws, we should, respect them, we
Yeah.
should follow them.
Respect them,
I think the general consensus I hear is we don't need to change the bylaws, but as far as enforcing those, is that something that we need to like enforce now, or can we say, hey, going forward, we're gonna start enforcing this,
bylaw.
we're gonna start enforcing this bylaw going forward? And again, it's funny because I literally had this same conversation at a board meeting last month, and what we did is it was after, same thing, 3 absences, because it was a quarter of the meetings or whatever. After that second miss in a row, they're contacted by the executive director and says, hey, just FYI, you've met, in this case, it would be after the 3rd absence or the 2nd in a row, you'd be contacted and say, hey, you've missed 2, you've missed 3, you're coming up. If you miss the next one, that's gonna be an automatic resignation. Is something going on? I guess all of that to say is, my question is, do we have to enforce it retroactively, or can we state we're gonna start enforcing it now and move forward?
And that communication is key too. That's what we've been missing.
Well, I think it's up to us. I mean, I think as a body, I think we could, but I do think that's an amendment probably to the bylaws to add notice or,
You're the lawyer,
something
I'll-
like
I'll
that.
defer to you.
And to, I mean, I think that's an amendment to what they say now. They say what they say now. And they've said that since, correct me, Kimberly, but I mean, they've been in
Since
effect
you
for that
rewrote
period
them.
of time, right?
And
For
it
that
is
year.
for a 12-month period.
So,
And
The
these-
rolling 12 months.
Yes. Now that I'm like reading and rereading and reading again. Yeah, and that
Do
starts.
we have
in-
last year's roll call?
Well, it starts September of last year, but it should be starting in July of last year, right?
Because
it
that
is
would
a
be
12-month.
interesting to see too, because I know that would bring up a whole nother, lots of issues.
so we can.
So it should have been, the bylaws should have been started to be reinforced like last year, like when we were doing the 10-year plan and people were missing. That's when you should have started reinforcing it opposed to like now. Why all of a sudden now?
I think that we're seeing this now because we had a quorum not meet, and then you have city people who are getting paid to be here. And then when we don't have a quorum, we can't vote on anything, so the meeting is pretty much,
I know, I was here.
yeah.
It's
it
a
was
waste of time.
It's a waste of time, and then, because you still have to go over the information, but you can't take any action. And then I also serve on another board where this just recently happened, and there was a person, he had missed 3 consecutive meetings, had a reason, we were able to reappoint him, so, because he wanted to be reappointed, but he did, automatically he fell off. And so, but based on, it's a city board, so he fell off automatically. It wasn't even do we choose this or not? He just was no longer serving because he had 3 consecutive absences. And so we had to reinstate his position. They asked us, would you like to see him here or not? And anyways, we voted and decided to keep him. So I get why it's necessary. And in December, we talked about no January meeting because there was going to be the TAP Winter Games. We talked about at that December meeting that we would be adjusting the February dates because of Valentine's Day. So if you miss that meeting, then you don't know that when the next meeting is going to be, but also it's in the minutes. So if you read the minutes, then in the agenda, which they produce at least a week in advance, we know that these meetings fall at the same time. So, I have a kid at home right now with 101 fever. So I'm here. I just got off work. I'm soaking wet. Like, I make it a point to be here. Because it's y'all's time and we pay y'all to be here. And so it's important. I mean, I get that it's important. I also serve out in the community. I do multiple things. I make multiple events. But, so I get the importance of it all, because we can't move forward if we don't have a quorum. But I also get that we don't want to lose anybody because we have a good team. I mean, seriously, you represent something, we all do. We all represent a good area. We do have a great team. I mean, I think we're a great team. So like, you are very active. You are great with sports. You're great with disc golf. I love the people we work with. So I understand all of it, I guess, because I don't want to lose anybody either. But I mean, we have to make sure that we have a quorum at all time because then we waste their time and our taxpayer dollars.
And kudos to Ashley for not missing a single meeting.
I'm
She's
here.
the only one with perfect attendance.
Well, at one time I had to attend on Zoom, but I was still here.
Yeah, and they took away Zoom meetings. I've requested Zoom meetings multiple times because technically we're still during pandemic, but
Open Meetings
it's not
Act.
being offered anymore.
The
so-
city denied it, so it's a conflict with the Open Meetings Act, so we won't be getting that back, because I know, because I serve on a couple other boards, and they said that's over, because it's a conflict with the Open Meetings Act, and so,
It was an accommodation for the
for the pandemic.
Yeah.
So what do we do now?
Well,
But Lee, pull the trigger. You got a plan.
Is there a motion?
Is there a way to go, like you said, not retroactively, but from moving from now on, like we make this decision that from now on, that starting now, if you miss,
I think if there's a way forward in that direction, it sounds like to me, it is to table this for today and consider some sort of an amendment to accommodate that. Because, I mean, I think we had, and I may be wrong, Kimberly may be right, you may know this, but didn't we adopt these bylaws at the beginning? I mean,
That was before my time here.
I think it was pretty much a good portion of the group that was here that we all agreed on that. But then I think a lot of it put a damper on us too was the Zoom, when we start going into that, because I know that on some of the meetings I was doing my class, I had it on Zoom, but then I noticed on the minutes, sometimes I wasn't getting credit for being here on Zoom. So sometimes those kind of things could happen, but we hit a pretty hard stumps back then. And I think right now, Lee, we have a super dynamic, well-diverse group here that brings a lot to the table. And because if we go and say, okay, well, 3 people are up, we're moving on, you're gonna start all over again from A1 and then try to build up again to get another team, and that might take you another few more years. So here you already have a team that's already well-rounded, that can produce, well-exposed in the communities as everybody's doing. Maybe an opportunity of helping this group here or guiding them for us to say, okay, no more, let's do the best we can.
My feeling is like you were saying, maybe start from this meeting, because what I'm looking at, you said 3 commissioners are up for election or reappointment. Some of us have served our terms already, and we're on our way out. So really, if we start today, maybe in 3 months, I'm on the way out. So it doesn't really matter. See, and then you have reappointment, then they know that we started today, so they know when they come back on board, if they're appointed, that they know that, I've got reappointed, so I've got, to do my responsibility of being here at the meetings. So I like his idea. Let's, everybody's aware of it now, and some of us are gonna be off, some of us are for reelection. So really, it doesn't affect if we started 3 months ago or today.
I see Lee's point, though, is that it's in our bylaws that this should happen. We've in essence just not taken action on what's in the bylaws. So if we were to take action on it now, it could be seen as giving preferential or unpreferential treatment to certain people based on the. I see your point to that. It would be nice if it wasn't, a government entity and we could just do that, but.
let me suggest this as a possibility. This is probably gonna. If someone made a motion that we waive the applicability of the provision for that particular 12 months and start, prospectively, like you're saying, And then we simply ask that that waiver be submitted to council for approval. And that city council either says, yes, your waiver's good, or no, your waiver's no good, we want to reappoint all of you guys, which I don't think is going to happen, but if that's what they want to do, that's their power to do it. But this way, we're faithful to, the line of authority under which we normally have to operate. But that sounds like, I mean, two of you at least have suggested that you don't want to change the provision, but you'd like to potentially waive its applicability for as to the last 12 months because of COVID or because of lack of notice or, other things we could have done better to make sure that some of those things didn't happen, which is reasonable. What about a motion to waive the applicability, subject to the council's approval of the waiver, if that's what they need to do? And then we take that action tonight. I think we could do that under what we have in front of us tonight.
I think that's a good idea. The one thing I'd like to see too is just, because I think it's been mentioned a couple of times about communication is how is this absences and attendance, I guess, being tallied and communicated with the board members? It'd be nice if there was some way, I mean, again, I kind of have an idea of how many meetings I've made in the last 12 months, but I think there should be something of, maybe it's on the attendance, like when, on the minutes, there's a thing of how many absences each person's had next to their name. I don't know, I'm just throwing out their ideas. I think that maybe.
I think one thing that could be, I agree, we need to, I could say all that other stuff, but we have the rules and we should follow them. And that's it, because we adopted those laws, but whatever. But my thoughts are, how did I get to 4? I should have been notified at 3 or possibly at 2. Something like that, and maybe have mandatory RSVP so they can know exactly who's going to be there. Something like that, where you have to let them know at least 2 days before or something. Just different ways to be able to communicate. And then when new members come, make it the guys, and it should be obvious, but maybe even stress it more. If you're not going to be able to make the time, regardless of what you're doing out there, you could be doing a lot for the parks, but you have to make these meetings specifically, or have good reason not to.
And I want to say, is it the Friday prior to the meetings, everyone should be getting an email with the agenda attachment. So if you are not getting those, please make sure you reach out to Jessica, because that means there's something wrong.
Yeah, but that's like a day before the meeting. That's one business day. So that's
That
like
Friday.
a crush.
I guess I got to speak up because I think that city staff has done a good job of communicating when the meetings are. The meetings are the second Monday of every month. When Jessica sends out the packets on Fridays, she asks at every single time, if you cannot make it, to please email her. So that's our responsibility to look for the email. I think that's my responsibility to look for the email, to respond back, I will or will not be there. And the one time I was sick, I wrote her as soon as I was sick on a Saturday morning, I'm sick, I'm not coming on Monday. So.
Ever go out of town and you don't check your email? You ever go out of town on a long weekend?
Not when well, yes, but when I know there's a Monday commitment coming up, I'm either planning around it or I'm letting them know in advance. And I may have that situation because I made this commitment to show up here the second Tuesday of every month. Now, with that said, I think there should be some consideration given to meetings missed because staff rescheduled the meetings. I mean, I'm curious, I know we all knew about February, but the date changed, which, if you've got hotels and you've got other things that you might not be able to move your schedule around. So I'm curious to know how many meetings y'all changed that may have impacted the number. But at the end of the day, we're adults, we volunteer our time, we know what the commitment is, we know when the commitment is. I think that city staff has kept us updated pretty regularly on when things change, a couple of months in advance as soon as they know. I don't have a problem adding it to the minutes if you want to tally up how many, but again, the meetings show who was in attendance and who wasn't. So I don't believe in making more work for staff because we can't do our jobs. I just don't. So, but with that said, I would agree with you in making a motion to waive the applicability for the past 12 months, but starting at this meeting on a go forward, that we're all aware of the requirement and on the, going on a go forward basis.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion and a second on that point. Any further discussion about that?
I would want to add the stuff that you talked about with the,
Just having, I mean,
just communication, more communication.
Well, let me,
my question, sorry, go ahead.
the motion is the motion is before us. It's up to Laurie to amend the motion if she allows an amendment or not, so.
I think that can be separate.
I'm sorry?
We could see that as separate. I think if you
Yeah.
want to vote on that motion and then.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the discussions is vote on this motion or
With that.
a different motion or another motion. So all in favor of Laurie's motion that's been seconded, say aye.
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 All opposed? None opposed. Okay, so that motion carries. So at this point, the agenda item's still open, I suppose. So did you want to?
Brian worded it the best. Can you repeat what you said? Hell, you have an awesome organization. What is this? I want to join.
No, I just wanted to make sure that we were communicating to those members that were about to be, per the bylaws, removed. Someone was to let them know, again, I agree with you, we're all adults here, we should know these things, but just in an abundance of communication, hey, Gail, you've missed 2 in a row, if you miss this next meeting, or putting it on, there that you have 2 absences. I don't know how we do it, but again, I'm in favor of an abundance of communication, so.
Can we ask staff if that would, what kind of an imposition that would be? I mean,
It shouldn't
I don't
be a
know, I
problem.
mean, I'm not saying that we need to adopt it as a bylaw amendment, because that means we got to go through that whole process and send it, but I'm just saying, is it,
As a courtesy, for sure,
is it a,
professional.
Yeah, I agree with Lori. Jessica's done a great job. I live by calendar invites. The fact that you send out a calendar invite, I love. I can just click accept. You know that I've accepted. It's on my calendar. It pops up with a 15-minute reminder because I'm busy hammering away at the desk, and I don't usually leave the office before 5. But on the second Monday of every month, it's 4:45. I'm leaving the office because you send a calendar invite. So I think that's super helpful. Having the agenda beforehand, because there's those boards that you get there and you show up and here's the agenda, and it's like, great, I haven't had time to read this. So I do appreciate that. And I put the little placeholder on my calendar for every, second Monday. And yeah, things happen and it moves and that sort of thing. But I think, yeah, if you could let us know if, hey, Brian, you're at 3 absences. If you miss another meeting, you're off, council, then that's
agree.
helpful, so.
We can hold each other, or even the new members hold each other accountable, like, hey, maybe not, just before, hey, if you can't make it, maybe you can make some time for somebody who can come on. Just hold each other accountable,
But don't
Okay.
talk to more than 3 members at once, because then you'll be in violation.
The Open Meetings Act.
That's right.
all right.
I meant here, like when you see them after they miss the next time, that's what I was talking about.
Okay, I think we got past that one.
40 minutes already.
Let's go to item D2, discuss proposed updated fees. Kimberly, I guess this is you.
Yes. Did I happen to give you my little cheat sheet when we were talking before the meeting? It has
might have.
some notes. I'm gonna run up and grab it.
Come on up here, let's see. Here's what you gave me, but I don't think, okay.
So last meeting, we, part of our updates, we let you all know that we were looking at our fee schedule, and Jason sent out an email with that fee schedule, with the proposed fee schedule. We have been in discussions with finance and the city manager's office about it, and we are still in review of them. But prior to going to council, we wanted to hear if you all had any feedback or any questions.
have a lot of questions on the fees being associated with disc golf and how to enforce them. But that's like probably not a discussion for here. So, but that's something that needs to be addressed because there's so many variables of activities going on. And we want the parks to be able to, recoup money for maintenance, constant maintenance on the park, so.
So the thoughts behind that were similar to our pavilions. So it was to ensure exclusive use of. If no one's using it and people go up to use it, super awesome. But if someone comes in and says, hey, I have a reservation, and then we're able to enforce that, yes, you have reserved this area, and we will help removing people so you can go ahead and have, whatever shindig you're having. So same thing with like the baseball fields, soccer fields, any of the multi-use areas. So it was the same thoughts along that.
Okay. I think there's a lot of organized activity going on that, I don't know, we need to define boundaries on. I don't know, maybe it's like a basketball court. It's open, y'all can go play for free, and when does it start becoming something that you rent? Is it when you have a tournament and people are paying?
They can rent the pavilion.
If you're paying to play, then does that mean that you should be paying the facility? Or, or is there different tiers of, it's just wide open, really.
It's the same thing like the pavilion. So if you go to Children's Park Pavilion, if no one's using it, you can go eat lunch there for free. But if someone does pay to reserve it, and then they have that exclusive use of it. We are updating our special event policy, and tournaments do fall into that there will be steps to take to have those special events, so we can make sure that everything is organized the way it needs to, and we have the appropriate departments notified. Does that make sense?
I have a question. So what determination was used to decide when certain fees were decreased? I saw on here, for example, just a couple of items. Like the first page, grounds rate, Monday through Sunday went from $550 to $350.
Is that for the golf course?
No, ma'am, it's it looks like the arena?
The very top with the arena
Okay,
went up.
in the, for the community center. So we're still working on those ones, but unfortunately, I don't have those ones directly in front of me. I know some of the thoughts behind the usage of the community center was to be able to increase Monday through Thursday, if that's is it a Monday through Thursday fee?
No, it's Monday through Sunday and holidays. The Monday through Thursdays, you guys put a line through all together. So
Okay.
I don't know if you meant to strike through those as well. Because the next one down is grounds rate Monday through Sunday, set up, tear down, non-usage day, went from $275 to $150.
I cannot speak to the community center fees, sorry.
It's okay.
I was not a part of that conversation.
And then the other question I have is around the golf course, and that is, so I see in the middle of the page, the note is that the rate, for all 18 and 9-hole rates have increased $2 across the board from the past 2 years. So that was just a flat $2 rate increase for each category?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then on the annual pass for the holder rates, those were all increased across the board by $72. I'm just curious what the methodology was for that.
So that was part of the business plan that the golf course created with finance a couple years ago. So it's part of that consistent increase in fees every year. They're doing a little bit, so it's not, hitting members hard. It's doing that just gradual increase.
So they're doing an incremental increase yearly when they can. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm glad to see you raise the beer prices, because those have been going up for a long time. The public won't like it, but we've all been hit by.
Yeah, the cost of goods sold really
$350 is a
hurt us
really
this
good
year.
price. It was a really good price. Sorry to the public, yeah, I'm sorry. But, and I think that's it for me. Do you want to?
What did y'all raise the RV park to? I'm sorry, I can't pull it up.
to $20.
So it went from
per night.
11 to 20? Is
From
that right?
12 to 20,
12 to
and
20.
that is still, so we raised it 66%, but the average, the median.
You're still low.
Oh, yeah, the median for Victoria is still like, it's in the 40s. I think it might be $44 per night at other RV parks. So it's still very
Very low.
competitive.
Yeah.
Is there any plans to add a shower house to that RV park?
So that's one of the things that we're looking at, because it was identified in the master plan as a place that we could really capitalize on. That would be really awesome. But we haven't really sat down to look at and develop it that thoroughly, but we can definitely make that note.
So if I understand this, it's not, you have to, like De Leon Plaza, if you want to go down there and have just a, hang out, you don't have to pay that, but it's a guarantee of service if you do pay it.
Yes, and make sure you don't double book or anything like that, because if you're having your wedding down there, no one can come and say, hey, I'm having my wedding too, because you can say, nope, it's mine.
Gotcha. So you're not excluding anybody from going, kids from going to play on a baseball field after school. It's just if you want to rent that out to have a baseball game, okay.
Yes, yeah, if you want to look at restricting all the use, that's when it starts going into that special event permitting, if it's not designated something different on the fee schedule.
So what classifies a special event?
We're still defining that at the moment, but a lot of it is that restricted use and then having that additional impact on city departments and resources. So when we know that there's going to be a couple hundred people in an area, we know automatically like that could potentially put an increase on our police department, our emergency medical services, things like that. So, and we do increase that level of care when we know something is going on as well, like, increased trash removal, increased mowing, increased something like that. So there's that little extra bit too.
It seems like you're saying it's okay to just utilize the park and not have an organized event or not classify it as a special event.
Yes. Yeah, you can still have your barbecues and birthday parties and things like that. That's definitely not a problem. It's just organizing that special event so it is safer, and because usually with special events comes inflatables, tents, additional electrical needs, barricades for streets, or closing part of the park, restricting access, and that is what we want to make sure that we get a hold of. Because there are movements throughout the parks that we don't necessarily know about, and so it's making sure that everybody is able to keep moving. But we're still working on it, so I don't have all the answers for that, so hopefully next
Do y'all
meeting
have a
we'll
date
lot
for
more.
like when you're trying to finalize defining a special event?
Hopefully within the next month. Well, yes, hopefully within the next month it should be.
So I had a question come up from the, someone in the community, but renting the De Leon Plaza. So is the plaza considered the entire park area inside the confines of the 4 sidewalks?
It's the gazebo.
Or is it just the gazebo?
It's the gazebo.
So that's considered the plaza, not all of the grass space around it?
To my understanding, it's De Leon gazebo.
Just the gazebo? Okay.
But can you rent that entire area out somehow?
Yes, when you, that's one of the things that kind of starts looking at that special event, because it will remove, it's the whole area then.
Jessica, I got a question on the community center. I noticed the rate is different Monday through Thursday and then from holidays and Friday. Is it because the weekend, the staffing, you gotta pay overtime? To me, it seems like, if you're gonna have a rate for the community center, it should be Monday through Sunday or the whole week the same rate. Is that the reasoning that the weekend is higher because of the staffing?
So I don't know for sure the thought process behind it. I know with some of our other rates, we're trying to increase usage during those times, because there are times that the facilities are used less. So if we want to increase the usage, we're trying to make it more affordable for people to use it and more enticing for people to use the
So
space.
it's a
That's-
demand.
That's what
feature.
other venues are doing too. It's cheaper during the week than on the weekend.
Market rate.
I mean, but then again, you know, most of the events are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, actually, Friday and Saturday. The demand is there, but what I'm saying is, if you want it and I want it, you know, whoever gets it first, it gets it. I mean, there's nothing else you can do, so why the difference in price?
I think it being less during those other times is to try to get
Try to
them to
make up
rent,
for it at the end,
try
Oh,
on
to
the
get them
weekend.
to rent
Yeah.
it.
Trying to get
Well, I mean,
renters.
you should, you know, I don't know if, see, we do a lot of events at the community center on the weekends, and, it's taking a toll on trying to rent it because of the fact that a lot of quinceañeras, a lot of weddings do occur during the weekend, Saturdays, actually Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays sometimes. And to me, if you're gonna use, I mean, this wear and tear is gonna be regardless of use of Monday or Sunday, the wear and tear is gonna be there. The air conditioning is gonna be running for 10 people as it is for 500. So, I mean, that's my question as to, you know, instead of just one fixed rate, Monday through Friday, or Monday through, well, 7 days a week. I mean, it's going up, and, I mean, I've been using the community center for the past 45 years, and, I mean, I can give you a story on what's going on as far as the rental and different policies, different changes. Now, when you rent the community center, whether you use it or not, includes a kitchen. So I would say a lot of events don't use a kitchen, but you still being given the kitchen.
There's also, we'll be sending out some updated information, especially with the community center. There has been, we sent this out to you all prior to talking with our city manager's office, and there was some discussion during that's going to make us look at this. I'm reading my notes. And so we'll be sending out more information about the fees, either email or in one of our meetings before we take it to city council. So there'll be another opportunity to review some of the revisions that we're going to be making to what you have in front of you. So that doesn't answer your questions, but it's just another piece of information.
Well, you know, 'cause like people ask, you know, especially throughout, like you said, Jason, involvement in the community, they've always say, hey, you in the park, why is it so hard to get the community center? Why is it so high? And they're going on and on, you know, I mean, I get an earful of, you know, all the, you know, I'm not gonna use it in the kitchen, why am I paying for it? Part of the policy, you know?
And I am capturing any of the concerns or questions you guys are having about any of the fees. And we will be talking internally in going through them again. So, you know, you might see some changes based on those conversations when we send out updated revisions.
Well, the counterpoint to that, I think, is that if there's an opportunity to rent it and rent the whole thing for a greater fee, you know, the enterprise, which, you know, this is a public service, but it's also an enterprise at some level, is better off. In other words, if there's somebody that wants to go ahead and take the kitchen and on the weekend they're willing to pay for it, and, you know, then, I mean, it just seems, it's sort of hard to divorce the demand away from the.
I'll try to bargain, say, I'll give you the kitchen, but give me have the marquee.
But I mean, it makes sense. So I did make that note so we can talk about that and seeing if there is a way to pull it apart.
Sure.
Because, yeah, if you don't need it, why pay for it? They do that with your insurance now, right?
Well, that insurance.
Okay.
It looks like you might be able to add the skate park on here since y'all cleaned it up so nicely.
Thank you. Yes.
And it does look beautiful over there, I must say. I went to visit it. 98% of the graffiti is cleaned up. It looks like y'all cleaned it up and then it got a little tagged again. Maybe we can use one of those cameras out there to stop that. Port Aransas was having the same issue with graffiti, and they caught the bad guys, and now there's no more problems. So
Oh,
the bad guys that were marking up the park.
awesome. Yes, thank you for the skate parks. I know we're still working on getting those cracks fixed and the awnings over the frames too, just FYI.
Do you know when that may be completed, when y'all are doing that? There was talk too about taking down the fencing. Is that going to happen?
I don't think so anymore, because there's concerns about people driving onto it.
Any other
Yeah,
comments
sorry,
about
we're-
fees in particular? Okay. Item D3 is cancel August meeting and take action.
We're gonna need notice. No.
So everybody's off the hook for August evidently. So staff is going to be,
That's one for staff.
Who's not here, don't tell them, let them know.
Yeah, just put it in your calendar.
all the board gets a free a free attendance on.
For
on
summer
August.
activities.
We'll meet out we'll meet in the gazebo.
But we need the
Make it
credit.
as a makeup day? Like, we have a makeup day. I'll bring snacks.
So did you have anything about that in particular or, okay.
No, the intent behind it was really just to kind of give a month off for some summer activities, getting ready to go back to school, all that, and given.
So we're not gonna reschedule it, it's just gonna be straight cancel.
Then, just go right into September.
Summer vacation.
Summer vacation.
Okay. Is there a motion that we take a summer vacation in August?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Come on. Okay. All right, that passes and we will cancel the August meeting. That's dreadful, okay. Kimberly, Parks and Rec updates.
That's not what it's supposed to look like on the screen. Hold on.
Are you on a different source or something?
Darn it. That's weird.
I don't know why it's.
You're welcome to share with me.
You can turn around.
Well, we might just have to keep it like this. Or not. We're just gonna keep it like this. We're not gonna worry about that. Okay, so Parks and Recreation updates from June. So we'll go over what we did for Parks, Recreation, Golf Course, and our Sports Tourism and Community Center. And then give you guys some updates on our projects too. So we had a quarterly update meeting with our department, and we did some fun team building activities. We did the spaghetti tower with holding up the marshmallow. Jessica was part of the winning team. Go Team Jessica. It was fun. We had a lot of fun everybody working together, getting to know people, because we do have some new staff, which is really great. All right. So parks, over the last month, we have continued to be doing training with our staff. So we went over our emergency operations training, what we have, how we handle different natural disasters, or if there's a fire, things like that. So we did some in-depth training with our staff with that. We continued field maintenance at the adult sports complex. We worked on Field 2 back in May. Field 4 is getting a lot of TLC right now. And through that, they're able to do a lot of equipment training with staff as well. That's what that middle picture is they've had some equipment there for years with different attachments, and they only ever use one attachment. So Steve and Kim have been going in and really teaching staff how to use those tools and resources that they have currently. We also were able to do field maintenance at the Riverside Multi-Use Complex, the soccer fields, do some top dressing, make sure they get watered really well. And there was a lot of bald spots there, so it was allowing the field time to rest, so the grass can really come back together. We're continuing to review the Riverside Mowing Map and try to get our footing with those different areas of the park. And then our parks team, as always, was absolutely awesome during our Miller Lite 4th of July Blast-Off event. They came out and they supported and they helped out a lot. And to the right is Richard. He is one of our maintenance workers and he is fantastic.
Where do you keep that tricycle?
That's one of the generals. They have it for their fun,
I see.
the fun activities during the games.
Hey, in regards to 4th of July, I think that in the future, we should have something that keeps people there for an hour after, like so that the fireworks end, and then there's still like live music until 11 or something like that, or that there's festival activities still going on until 11. That way you don't have everybody leaving at one time. And then some people can kind of, stay back a little bit. And I was just there, and then it's like you have this, traffic
Mass.
jam. Yes, exactly, and it's always been that way. And I was just thinking, it ends at 10, but if it ended at 11, then after the fireworks, if you had live music for just a little bit longer, people would stick around, but it wouldn't be everybody. So then half your traffic leaves, and then half your traffic is still there. But it was a great event. Like, it was awesome. I was there. I just barely missed you. So sorry.
Well, thank you for
I
coming
started
out.
driving around, and I will say another suggestion is some shade. It's super hot, and like if you get there early, that sun's still blazing, and I noticed every little food truck, like the shady space behind every food truck was huddled with families just like trying to eat in the shade because there really wasn't any shade out there.
For like a picnic area?
Yeah, like I don't know if you do a tent or something in the future. I don't know what the options are, but it was one of the reasons like we had to leave. We're like, all right, we're like kids are dying.
It was
Everybody's
toasty.
toasted.
It definitely was. And I will say, our police department did get everyone gone within 20 minutes. It was crazy traffic jams, but 20 minutes. They had their drones out, and apparently that really helped in with that traffic control. So go police.
Yes.
Before you go to the next slide, on the mowing map, has it been modified to not include Grover's Bend anymore? Because it's super overgrown. And I know I talked to the staff this morning, to Jason, and he said they were going to try to mow it, but it's like being forgotten.
So there are areas of Grover's Bend that are being grown out into the more that prairie grasses, but it shouldn't be conflicting with their walking trails or any of the paths. So that's one of the things that we're really taking a look to see what it is that people are
Well, we're
still
not,
using that's not being mowed.
we're trying to use the trails that go down to their river, but now there's grasses like chest high, so it's not real safe to be walking in that. So it tears off from knee high to waist high to chest high trying to access the river. Where there used to be trails, they're now super duper overgrown. And that's all on the north bank of Grover's Bend, like from Pebble Beach all the way up Grover's Bend. There used to be a lower tier trail that was washed out by a flood, but it still was like being mowed, and now it's not. So it's one of the prime places in Grover's Bend that no one could access anymore. And you say you're letting the prairie grass grow up. That used to be places where you could play fetch with your dog, but now you can't see your dog in that grass. So it makes it hard to find a place to go and run like animals.
We are building a dog park.
Yes, but that dog park doesn't have a water feature like the Guadalupe River, which is totally 100% free, and it's all right there. So if you take your dog to Pebble Beach, you can access the river all the way up to almost the Rose Garden. Well, that parking lot before the Rose Garden, that's how you could walk on that lower tier up and down the trails. And at any time, you could jump in the water. Not only can your animals jump in the water, but people can jump in the water too. So
Yeah, we'll definitely look to revisit how the usage of Grover's Bend in the park.
yes, and Pebble Beach is really grown up too. You can only access it like from the very top of the trail. If you try to access it further down, like I said, you're in waist-high grass. So it's not real safe, and it's a prime location. And it used to be maintained.
we will look into that. Anything else about parks? All right. So recreation. So June into last week, we were able to have a successful Miller Lite 4th of July blast-off event, National Skateboarding Day at the skate park. We finished up our kickball and softball leagues, and we were able to assist Hope Fest, the Senior Bingo and Health Fair, and the Crossroads Wheelchair Softball Classic. And I am very excited to announce that we are fully staffed in recreation. We have our 3 rec coordinators pictured here. We have Gabby on the left, Jayla in the middle, and Alex on the right. And Gabby started today. Jayla started the week of June 20th, and then Alex has been here since the end of February. So we are very excited to have them on board.
Can you share any about your skateboarding day? What was that event?
So it was National Skateboarding Day, and Alex went ahead. He just ordered some pizzas and went out and just interacted with everybody. And, that's part of what we're trying to do with our different amenities that we have at our parks, as get to know our users. And so we can see what kind of interest there is and engage kind of how the community, if there wants to be more regular programming out there, if there can be like an intro to skateboarding program or, more events out there, stuff like that. So building relationships.
I've seen lots of people asking about the skateboard park and loving the skateboard park, but they're dying out there with no shade. So they're requesting shade because it does get super duper.
We do have on order the awnings that go over the tent covers. So we do have those on order.
Is that just at the picnic areas and the bleachers that's there? Or is there going to be like shade popped in the middle of the park, like, where the kids hang out?
Right now, we don't have any plans to add an additional shade structure there. But we can make note to look at that.
That's the request I always get, so just sharing.
July is also Parks and Recreation Month, so we have a whole month dedicated to the awesomeness that Parks and Recreation is. So coming up, Jayla has kicked off weekly activities in the parks. So the theme of this month is Rise Up in Recreation. So there's different activities going on at the different parks on Wednesdays. We have Kona Ice out there. The zoo's coming out one time. She did really fun arts with squirt guns for the people out there. We'll be bringing Art in the Park July 18th to Grover's Bend. And then we are assisting the Southside community with their back to school event. We'll have our pop-up park out there, and the kayak clinic is scheduled for August 6th. All right. Golf course and community center. So bear with me. So our June statistics. So for tournaments, we had 306 rounds played in our tournaments, 378 practice rounds for a total of 3,355 rounds for the month of June. And we have a whole slew of events for July coming up. We have the Red, White, and Blue Scramble. Rolando just finished a great week of junior camp. And I believe there was 8 participants. They're having Thursday night scrambles, Knights of Columbus, another junior camp, and continuing with the Thursday scrambles. This is how we compare to last year with our rounds and our revenues for the golf course. It shows that we are about 100 rounds ahead this year than we were last year, year to date. And we had about, was that 600 more rounds of golf in June than we did June of 2021. And then our revenues have also increased as well. We have GPS on the golf carts now. It's very exciting. Rolando is super stoked about this, and he's able to do the geofencing, make sure that the greens aren't driven on, make sure they're not driven all around Riverside, checking out, the different areas of the park. And the community center. So they hosted 3 city meetings and trainings last month. They had 18 non-city functions. We did have, we're a department meeting, so that will go into the city meetings. So we had a total usage of 21 events at the community center. Sports tourism. So the sports that we have coming up for July is the Red, White, and Blue Scramble at the Riverside Golf Course. The Latin Bowlers Tournament happened last weekend, as well as the Taft Swim Meet. USSSA Slow Pitch Softball Tournament. One that's not listed on here is the Crossroads Wheelchair Classic that happened at the Challenge Athletes Room Complex the weekend of the 4th of July. We have Midnight Madness Fast Pitch Softball coming up, and that is an all-night tournament. So we have staff there at like 3 o'clock in the morning while people play. And then we have the Hot as Heck Scramble, and then the Victoria Parks Coalition Disc Golf Extravaganza in August.
So they're not gonna do an adult one for the, no, okay, I was thinking of that one that, where they're having, they're gonna have the event, at the community center with the,
Sombrero Fest.
right. Are they gonna do an adult one also, or just the children's one?
I am not 100% sure.
Okay.
Do you happen to know? I'm not sure, but we can find out.
Okay.
And then some sporting opportunities Michelle is working on bringing next year is boxing, regular cornhole competitions, basketball, cross country. And then we do have the American Junior Golf Association locked in for next year.
Isn't pickleball real popular? Could y'all add that?
Yes, that should be on that. That's already, Michelle's in the works with some tournament directors who hosted the Taft Winter Games, and then really they've brainstormed some dates when they'll be here. So we can get that information added.
How did y'all's workshop go that y'all had for pickleball?
It was a small turnout. I don't know the exact numbers. But I know that was prior to Michelle starting, so I know she'll be able to work more. She went out. She went out with the tournament director to talk more about future opportunities and everything. So there'll be definitely more of a turnout.
I know on your boxing, is that AAU? Is it professionals,
I think it'd be amateur,
amateur, the Golden Gloves?
maybe. I'm not sure.
We used to have a lot of boxing here.
For a boxing event, would you partner with a local boxing club?
There are local like organizations that would host them. I don't know if it'd be like a brick and mortar club or just more of like an association, but there are a couple like USA Boxing and things like that there are some local branches within driving distance of here. Did you all see this? Did we show this last? Isn't it pretty? Michelle did a great job.
It's a great logo. I like it a lot.
All right, so some projects. So our projects update this month, we should be going to council July 19th for the duck pond, for them to approve the contract and be able to start moving forward. So that's really exciting. The dog park, we do have a design in the final phases of development, and once we get those finalized documents, then there'll be a reviewal of them internally before we can start moving forward. For the multipurpose field at Riverside Park, we are able to start phase 2, which is in that back section behind the parking lot, to make I believe it's a U12 size soccer field. And once we get that topsoil in, it'll be really great, and we'll have a really nice last final field out there. And then the Ethel E. Tracy Playground should be read as the Ted B. Reed Playground. We do have some pictures here to follow so you guys can see what the design is that we're looking at. Once we can get the finalized information, we'll be going to council in August and then hopefully be able to have it installed in November. So let's look at some pictures. So this has we're still keeping the circle areas. We'll be removing pea gravel and replacing it with another playground surfacing. I don't believe it's pour and play. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but we won't be having the pea gravel anymore.
Wood fiber. Looks like wood fiber.
It might be wood fiber. And we'll still have the different age groups similar to how it's structured right now with the 3 through 5 and then the 6 and up group. And that is our final with the projects and all of our updates. Are there any other questions?
Was there any, I remember towards the splash pads, there was one point maybe talk of putting shade structures on the side of those on Lone Tree. Was there, well, I guess if they're not in the projects, but it's good to just bringing it up again. Maybe it was just something that we had discussed, and that having more of a shaded area for people to be at or something like that.
All the picnic tables should be covered. Should have a shade structure over them, but I'll double check that.
No, I think what I'm recalling is maybe a conversation we had when we were discussing the master plan. That's probably what it was.
Okay.
Any other comments? Kimberly, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good job.
Thanks.
Yeah, great job.
Jason better watch out.
Thank you all.
All right, well, that concludes the, first of all, I guess I can ask, is there anything that members would like to see placed on future agendas?
I would like to talk about reestablishing the lower trail in Grover's Bend.
Okay, you want to bring that up as just an item for discussion? Okay.
It's on the 10-year plan, by the way.
What did you call it, the lower trail?
Does it have a name? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about. We could get down on the river and kind of walk up and down, yeah.
Yeah, it was the lower trail. It was the previous trail in Grover's Bend, but it was rescinded back to the nearest to the street because it flooded out. It got washed out. Yeah.
I didn't know that was something that the department ever built. I thought people just did that.
No, it needs mowing and a little blading action right now to make it inhabitable.
Okay, well, we'll put it on the agenda to discuss. Okay, without any objection, this meeting is finally adjourned. All right.
I'm gonna get you a gavel.